Good evening, everyone. Today is April 20th, 2015, and welcome back to Veterans Voices, a monthly talk show focusing on veterans issues. I'm your host, Nathan Johnson, and I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Graves.
Thanks, Nathan. Tonight is our second installment in our Your VA series, and we are focusing on the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. We'd love to hear your voice tonight. Call us with your thoughts on our topic. What has worked for you in navigating the VA? What Veterans Affairs programs best served you, and how did you find it? So, Nathan, as a veteran, what VA program best served you?
Oh, thanks for asking, Kevin. I've taken a lot of advantage of the VA program since I left the military 12 years ago. And I got to say, the benefits that have really benefited me the most are the health care and the education benefits. Going into the military, I knew I was going to go to college once I discharged. So I had my eye focused on the GI Bill. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what school I was going to go to, but when I got out of the military, I signed up for a community college, and I sent in my application for the GI Bill, and sure enough, 30 days later, I had my education benefits coming through, used them for the full 36 months, and completed all of my educational goals. But to be more honest, I think the healthcare system, which is one that I really didn't anticipate using, when I left the Marine Corps, I didn't think I needed the VA healthcare. I thought that the healthcare system was only for veterans who were injured. But one of the VA counselors, Anna Coulter, as a matter of fact, with the VA Palo Alto healthcare system, Anna said, "You need the VA." And she signed me up that day, and I've used it ever since. I'm a very happy customer.
How long ago was that?
That was 11 years ago.
And Anna's still out there telling
Anna's
everybody that they
there.
need the veterans benefits.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I do outreach with her
Yep.
every day. And when I sit in front of soldiers and sailors and Marines, I tell them, look, this woman right here is the one responsible for me signing up for the VA healthcare. And to this day, I use the VA, and I see my doctor at the VA. And they're always paying attention to what I need, and they're being honest with me. And they let me take some control in terms of my healthcare appointments that I need.
That's awesome.
We're broadcasting live from the CCTV studio tonight and live streaming, of course, this episode on our website. So for those who are joining without cable TV, you can watch the show from anywhere in the world. We'll be taking your calls, and please do call. Important opportunity tonight. We'll also take emails and live chats anytime during the show. We want you to ask questions or leave comments in regards to your experience with our VA. Our phone number is 925-313-1170. And our email appears below. We welcome you to ask questions anonymously through our live chat link located on the top left of our homepage. Before we bring our guests on, though, we'd like to give you a little background on the VA, help you understand how the VA is structured, and what local VA offices are right here in Contra Costa County. The intent here is that if we can tell you a little bit more about the VA and you can develop an understanding of how it's structured, it might help you in some of the decisions that you make in applying for VA benefits. The VA has one of the most comprehensive veterans assistance systems in the world. It's the second largest federal agency and has been in existence in one form or another for the last few hundred years. In 1811, the federal government authorized the first medical facility for veterans. That same century, our nation's Veterans Assistance Program was expanded to include benefits and pensions for veterans like you and their families.
The VA has three branches: the Veterans Benefits Administration, Veterans Health Administration, and the National Cemetery Administration. The VBA has their regional office in Oakland. The VHA is comprised of clinics like the Martinez Clinic and vet centers like the Concord Vet Center. The closest National Cemetery Association branch is over in Golden Gate National Cemetery in San Bruno. The closest open cemetery is the Sacramento Valley National Cemetery in Dixon. The VA really does have a rich history in this nation, and we are excited to have them with us today on our show.
Yeah, I just can't emphasize enough how important it is for veterans to really understand how that VA is structured. It's similar to the Department of the Defense. They have the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. And when you join one branch, you don't necessarily join the other. So when you go to the VA for health care, you're not essentially establishing a claim for compensation. Very important for you to understand that. And if we can help you understand that a little bit more tonight, call, ask a question, let us help you. That's the purpose of tonight's show, to bring the VA and showcase them here and make sure that you leave with an understanding about how that VA can serve you. Before we bring our guests on, we'd like to show you this informative PSA on the organization of the Veterans Affairs claims process.
VBA is in the midst of a multi-year transformation plan to better shape how we handle and process veterans' claims. We're better organizing all claims from the moment they arrive till when they reach our claims processors. We've introduced a formalized intake processing center, segmented claim lanes, and cross-functional teams to streamline the claims process and better serve veterans. Today, all 56 regional offices and the Appeals Management Center are operating in this new organizational model. Before, simple claims were processed alongside complex claims. Now, skilled intake analysts use a formal triage process to determine the exact nature of each claim and to which of 3 segmented lanes a claim should be sent. Claims that predictably take less time flow through the express lane, while claims that require more time flow through the special operations lane. The remaining claims flow through the core lane. Each lane is assigned a cross-functional team comprised of a comprehensive screener, veteran service representatives, and rating veteran service representatives who holistically review each claim and share real-time information from start to finish in a more accurate and streamlined manner. This model is a major step in reaching our goal of completing claims within 125 days with 98% accuracy in 2015. At VBA, we are all in.
We are now joined by Lee Deloney and Leland Lowe from the VA's regional office in Oakland. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that we were originally going to have Julie Bohr on the show tonight, and she's involved in some very important opportunities back in Washington, D.C. So I want to thank Lee and Leland for stepping into the show almost kind of last minute and being brave and being confident in representing a very important organization, the Veterans Benefits Administration. I like to think of the VBA as the agency that holds all the money, all the monetary benefits like compensation and pension, education benefits. We talked a lot about those benefits last month. We gave our audience a good overview of what compensation is and what pension is and how they're different. So we won't really duplicate that effort tonight. We'll talk more maybe about how the day-to-day things happen at the Oakland regional office. And so, Lee, you're a Navy veteran. Tell us a little bit about your service in the military.
Yes, I'm a Navy veteran. I came in right at the end of the Vietnam War, and I became an engineering officer. So I spent my Navy time in the bowels of the ship, sweating it out. And but it was a great experience for me. I mean, it turned me, I believe, from just a punk to a man. I know it sounds trite, but that was the way it was for me. I really needed my time in the Navy. So it was a great experience.
Great, and you've got seat time with one of our own, Fred Schobert, VSR
right.
in our office. We want to point that out.
That's right.
So Leland, over 40 years of service with the VA. Is all that time spent at the Oakland regional office?
No, the first 2 years were at the San Francisco VA hospital. Started out as a clerical ward clerk.
And so you moved on to Oakland, and you'll probably put in another couple of decades of service before you finally retire. So very dedicated. And so we're kind of showcasing here the faces of the VA, because I think most people think of the VA as if it's a giant dragon that you need to pull out a sword and slay. But in fact, it's the faces of individuals like yourselves, a veteran or someone who has over 40 years of government service to this country, not wearing a uniform necessarily, but certainly serving those who wear a uniform. What drove you to want to serve this mission of the VBA? And what exactly is the VBA's mission?
Well, being a veteran myself, I honestly didn't know that much about the VA and had never used VA health care, but I had friends that had, and one of them told me, hey, you should consider working for the VA. And so he had a friend of a friend and was able to interview with him, and I've been here now 10 years, and it's been great to serve fellow veterans and their surviving spouses, and and just really try to make a difference, have an impact. I think that more people need to use the VA. There's so many veterans that have never even come into us and said, hey, what can you do for me? And we love that when someone comes in for the very first time and we can try to help them.
Yeah, it's amazing. In our office every day, a Vietnam veteran, after being home for over 40 years, walks into our office.
Right, exactly.
And we wonder, what took you so long? But we're glad you're here. And you guys, you gentlemen both represent the public contact team. So in a sense, you're the front line. So at the Oakland Regional Office, take us through kind of a common day of how the public contact office helps veterans understand benefits and even help them apply.
Well, normally when a veteran comes in or a beneficiary, they'll fill out a form, give us a summary of what it is they're needing assistance with. And what we'll do is we'll see where they may be eligible. We'll try to identify what benefits may be of use to them. Mm-hmm. It depends on their age and their experience, what has happened to them in the past.
Okay.
But usually before they leave, we were able to point them in the right direction and make sure that we've served them.
Now, I want to just remind everyone tonight that you have the opportunity to call in. Excuse me, you have the opportunity to call in or email or chat with questions. We have tonight on the stage the VA, and we've started with the Veterans Benefits Administration, Lee and Leland. And so, Leland, you mentioned helping veterans with these forms, and recently the VA came out with a regulation that requires prescribed forms. So now a veteran must fill out a specific form to request a specific benefit. How do you help them understand which is the right form? And maybe they're a little bit confused about how to properly fill out that form. What do you do to help them?
Well, that's a great question. I'm really glad that you did bring that out. Since the beginning, the VA has had a prescribed form for someone to come in for the very first time. The difference now is that if a veteran wants to come in and claim something else or an increased disability that they may have, we need them to put that request on one of the three main prescribed forms, depending on the benefit.
Okay.
If it's service-connected disability, that is to say an injury that happened while they were perhaps on active duty, then even though they may be already gaining benefits for one knee, now they're coming in for another knee. It used to be that the VA would take that claim, whether it was on the back of an envelope or carrier pigeon or however we got it, we would say, oh, this is a claim. Now we're asking veterans to fill out the correct claim form, which is the 526EZ for compensation.
Okay.
That helps us because the computers that we're using now have character recognition.
Oh, wow.
Okay. You know, the VA, one of the great advances that we're really making is 90% of the claims work we do now is in the virtual world on screens. We're getting away from the paper, and so it really helps us to have the veteran fill the claim out on the form. It's speeding up the claims process quite a bit already.
Right.
And it's also increasing access to the information from different sources. Before, if somebody had a file on their desk, somebody else could never access that file because they didn't know where it was at the time. And this has also been a huge benefit with your paperless system you're going through to actually get benefits to the veterans sooner because more people have access to that information. Is that correct?
That's really true. When someone comes in and sees Leland at the office, if they moved from North Carolina, then there'd be a limited amount of things that we could tell them. Well, now their file is virtual, and we can answer very specific questions for them, even though they've never come to our office before, for many of the veterans. So that's been a great advantage. Veterans can still do what's called an intent to file. So if they're not ready to fill out the form and make their claim, all they have to do is either call in or come and see Leland. Right. And we have a new form called the intent to file form, and it serves as a placeholder for them. So they have up to a year after they put that intent to file form in to put together their claims package, and if they end up with a benefit, we'll credit it all the way back into where they first said, I intend to file.
Right. In our office, we call that an informal claim. And we do that very specifically when we know the veteran needs some time to gather some medical evidence, some doctor's statements for such. And yeah, we want to protect the effective date. So we want to preserve that veteran can possibly receive that retroactive benefit.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about some of the common issues or some of the common claims that you see in the Oakland Regional Office.
Well, we get all kinds of claims. Most of them are claims for increases of disabilities. Sometimes you develop a secondary condition related to your service-connected condition. And we try to identify that, and if the veteran doesn't know, we usually advise them to go back to their doctors and try to get more information about how that other condition may be caused by their primary service-connected condition.
Okay.
And then we'll also give them the forms to take, just in case they feel that this is a related condition, so that they can go ahead and file for that secondary condition.
Okay, so typical compensation issues and an initial claim, a claim for increase, secondary service connection, like we talked about during the last show. We watched a public service announcement which described this new process in which the VA is establishing segmented lanes, express and core and special ops. We don't need to rehash that for our audience, but give us a little bit of an idea of maybe the team that exists at the Oakland Regional Office. How big is the team there? How specialized are they? And on a day-to-day basis, how well do they operate with each other, and how do they interface with the VHA, if at all?
Well, the Oakland Regional Office now has about 325 employees. Wow. Some of them are on the vocational rehabilitation group, which I think you took advantage of. You mentioned that.
Right, I did.
In terms of the disability claims processors, we have about 250 of those. And day to day, one of the things that's helping us do claims more quickly is to send claims with only perhaps one particular disability that's being claimed to what's called an express lane. These guys have a higher standard of how fast they move claims through. They have higher expectations on them, so they're running fast, and so those claims can get done very quickly. Then we have people that work with claims that require a very deep level of knowledge. For example, a military sexual trauma claim requires a lot of ability to look deeper, to ask deeper questions, look deeper into the file, because a lot of those things aren't just in the medical file. You have to be especially trained.
Situation. Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to go to a caller real quickly.
Sure.
We have a caller on the line from Merced, and we'll address the caller, and we'll come back to Lee and Leland a little bit more. Caller, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry, and your name, sir?
Arthur.
Arthur, welcome to the show, Arthur. Thank you for calling. You're calling from Merced, so we have the VBA on the show here. Arthur, do you have a question?
Well, yes, I have a question/comment. I have been fighting a claim since 1969, and it eventually started going my way in 2009. And then I talked to another doctor here several months ago, and they said I was finally rated. At first I was rated at 40%.
Okay.
Then they said I was increased to 70%.
Okay.
And then they said this was all news to me.
And let me ask you, Arthur, did an association help you out, or an organization like the American Legion or a county veteran service office? Did someone help you down there in Merced County?
Yes, actually, yes, in Merced.
Very good.
Actually, it was out of Oakland for AMVETS.
Okay, the AMVETS office out on the 11th floor in Oakland. Okay, and probably an AMVETS officer was stationed maybe at the clinic there or the hospital that you go to?
No, I was just doing this all over the computer with AMVETS.
With AMVETS. Okay, great. So Arthur, thank you for calling. And there's a lot of veteran service organizations also at the regional office. Right. And the County Veteran Service Office, which is not in the Oakland Regional Office, their job, like the AMVETS who has helped Arthur, is to help veterans navigate the VA regional office. So they get to complement, in a sense, the public contact team and the rating board and all the folks who are making the day-to-day decisions, helping veterans out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to say that we so much depend on the veteran service organizations. Yeah. They're a vital part of making this thing work. And especially if you're a veteran that lives say, way up in Wairika or,
Right.
or something, it's so great to have representation in your own county just to be able to go
Right.
there and get help. And so we very much depend on them. And even as we've moved to encouraging veterans to apply online for their disability benefits, it hasn't cut out the use of the veteran service officers.
As it shouldn't. Right.
Because they are able to also help a veteran virtually with their claim and getting it ready to submit to us.
Right.
So,
Leah and Leland, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight. We've run out of time. Arthur, I want to thank you for the phone call. I hope more follow your lead, Arthur, in terms of leaving comments and questions for the VA. Thank you for the hard work that you gentlemen do every day. The Oakland
for
VA
having us
Regional Office is very important to our community. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
appreciate it.
We'll return after this public service announcement from the VA.
My dad's a doctor, and he takes care of heroes every day. It takes a special person to do what he does. Every day he sees people with different hurts and scars. Small ones, big ones, complicated ones that never go away, and others that are invisible to everybody else. The scars aren't just on the outside. Sometimes, my dad says, people hurt more on the inside, and you can't see those scars. Those scars take a long time to heal. Where my dad works, they make sure to know lots about the veterans they treat. Like where they were hurt, what doctors have tried to help before, the medicines they have to take, and other important stuff, so that they can be taken care of at other VA hospitals like his. My dad always says every veteran should be able to live a happy, healthy life. Because they risk their lives to protect and serve the United States of America. My dad's a hero to a lot of people, but mostly he's my hero. This is my dad.
Thank you, honey. Hey, kids. So who wants to be a doctor? Yeah, you. Tell us why.
Welcome back. We're live in the CCTV studio. If you're just tuning in, this is our second installment of Your VA series. Tonight's topic is the Federal Veterans Affairs Department of Veterans Affairs. And now I'd like to welcome Tara Ricks and David Stockwell from the Veterans Healthcare Administration. Welcome, Tara and David.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for being here. Before we go into detail and questions, I want to go back to our caller. Arthur, we still have you on the line. Okay, we'll just wait here a second for Arthur. Arthur, you're on the line. You have a question.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great.
Okay. I was, like I said, rated changed from 40% to 70% in December, but I haven't seen anything. No raises at all.
Okay, no increase in your monetary benefit
That is
what you have
correct.
been seeing. Okay, so you need to contact your county veteran service officer there in Merced County. What they should have access to is a VA system called Shares. The Shares system is going to tell them maybe that check. Have you received a check at all, Arthur, or did you stop receiving a check?
Just 40%.
Okay, so you're still receiving a monetary benefit.
That is correct.
Okay, but it hadn't increased. Yeah, I would ask the County Veteran Service Office there in Merced County to check into the VA's electronic record systems to see if that decision has been promulgated or adjudicated. Okay, it could be that decision has not yet been really developed into a notification letter. How did you get informed of that decision, Arthur?
I got one of the pamphlets in the mail that said that I was receiving the 70%.
Yeah, in that instance, then they've adjudicated the decision. So there must be an issue with the pay. You need to contact the Merced County Veteran Service Office. They need to help you send a statement or make a phone call to the VA to resolve the difference between your 70% and your 40% in terms of pay. The good news is when the VA resolves that issue, they will pay you retroactively that benefit. You will not lose out on that monetary benefit, okay? But Arthur, thank you for your question. Thank you again for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
How great that we're getting phone calls from Merced.
Absolutely.
You know, we really thought about this show initially in terms of reaching out to veterans in Contra Costa County. We've got Arthur and many other veterans watching the show, probably from all over the nation. So again, welcome to Tara and to David, who are representing a different part of the VA. And we tried to kind of spell that out for folks and really showed them a graph, even showing how the VHA is the Veterans Healthcare Administration. And you represent the Northern California healthcare system, our Martinez Clinic, right across the freeway from our studio here. We're very proud of it. It's a large clinic, but you folks came all the way from Sacramento. And David, you're the director of the healthcare system, and you've been working for the VA for quite a while now.
27 years working for the VA. Started as an undergrad college student and couldn't be happier with it.
Wow. Well, congratulations. I know some of the folks that you used to work with. Don Rinker's one of them who remembers when you started working at the VA. And now you're a director. And are you a doctor?
No, healthcare administration background. That's my master's degree, but I love serving the veterans.
Great. Yeah, I think that's important for people to understand that doctors usually take the role as the care provider, and sometimes the administrative staff are also doctors, but sometimes they're not. And Tara, we know you in this community because you were our guest speaker at our Veterans Day ceremony.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you're a veteran yourself. Tell us a little bit about your service.
An Army veteran. I joined in 2004 and went to 2006. And I went to Germany and over in Iraq and did logistics, so got around a little bit.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for serving. And you're still serving as the Public Affairs Officer for Northern California Healthcare System.
Right. Yeah.
So the healthcare system is the largest part of the VA in terms of employees and number of facilities. In fact, I just learned recently that the VA Healthcare Administration has over 1,400 clinics and hospitals. Give us a little bit of an understanding of how those clinics exist in terms of their relationship to a hospital, and what's the difference between an outpatient clinic and a community-based outpatient clinic or a Cboc?
It's a great question. And I'm glad that healthcare was meaningful to you in your veteran journey, like you shared at the start.
It was.
VA hospital, that's where an inpatient goes, so you have to get admitted to the hospital, you get connected there. But years ago, the VA said, how do we get out to communities where we don't currently exist? How do we create access for care where the veterans live, away from where the hospitals are located? So when you hear the term community-based outpatient clinic or ambulatory care center, that's talking about outpatient care, a doctor's office where you go and get care or have a minor procedure done, as opposed to getting admitted to the hospital.
Okay.
So let me ask you this, David. I'm a veteran. I've never taken advantage of my benefits before, but I know that I need some medical care, whatever it might be. It might be anything from, an examination to being admitted to the hospital. Can I just walk in and say, hey, I'm a veteran, give me some benefits? Or how does that work? What's the proper way for them to access these benefits?
You can go online and register with VA. You can walk into any of our clinics, fill out a 1010EZ form. It's sort of like the short tax form, just a couple of pages long with some basic questions. Bring your DD-214 with you as far as your discharge from the military.
Is it due April 15th?
No. There's not a due date. You can sign up. And we've got about 110,000 veterans that have enrolled and signed up for healthcare here in Northern California.
So it's that simple. You just come in with the proper paperwork. You can walk in any clinic, and if you have a need and you're a veteran, you've served, you could take advantage of those benefits.
Yes.
Yeah, the healthcare system is hospitals and clinics. But tell us a little bit about the the doctors that work at these hospitals, the nurses that work at these clinics, what kind of care can they provide? We talked about it being comprehensive care, but give us an idea of some of the specialties and some of the qualifications of doctors within your healthcare system.
Well, we have a full-service medical specialties, surgical specialties, mental health specialties in the VA. Physicians that work in the VA are board certified in their area of expertise. We have an affiliation with UC Davis Medical Center in Sacramento, and a number of our providers are actually duly appointed members of the academic staff at the university and working at the VA. The nurses that work for the VA are all licensed professional nurses. We have a higher percentage of baccalaureate RNs that work for the VA than even in the private sector. And so clinical folks that support veterans are qualified. They are sometimes veterans themselves, but not always. They might come directly from their clinical school training programs. The VA has one of the largest training programs for medical professions in the United States. So many have that initial experience and then stay working for the VA because they like the mission of providing care to veterans.
Yeah, and a lot of these veterans who are employees get recognition on their name tag. It says something to the effect of Army or Marine Corps on their name tag. So it must be very important to the VA, Tara, when you as a veteran get to work as a part of the VHA's mission and walk around. And in terms of public relations, you get to really design how the VHA represents itself to the population.
Well, that was actually really interesting. So we wanted our veterans and even those that serve veterans to be able to identify what service. So that would help the veterans know that 40% of our work staff that actually are veterans themselves. Yeah. But also, our staff that are not veterans wear the eye care badge as a part of our core values.
Okay.
That even though they may have not served themselves, they're serving every day in a service capacity to serve those that have served.
Right.
So, and I think that helps, for example, a lot of the women veterans that come in and I talk to them, they know that I too have served, so that gives them a little bit of relationship that we have been, some of them have been in the same place, some of them were in the Army, and so that gives us a little bit of comfort.
That's got to be very powerful.
And on top of your paid staff, you have a very important program that augments your staff there through your volunteer program. Is that correct, David?
We do. So we have about 3,000 employees, but we've got another 1,000 volunteers. So people whose lives, either they have a relative that served in the military, they had a spouse, they themselves had a positive experience, or just want to help veterans. And so we've got 1,000 people that sort of fill in the gaps to make sure that veterans aren't lost in the system, that come on a regular basis and serve right alongside the employees.
And I want to just be a testimony to that, and shout out to my mother-in-law who's probably watching tonight, because she volunteers over at VA Palo Alto and loves it. She goes over there at least a day a week and does everything she can to help veterans, and just really feels like she's of service. Hey, Mom.
That's great. And since you brought up Palo Alto, let's give a little bit of understanding in terms of how these healthcare systems are structured, because we're here in Martinez, and we've got the Martinez Clinic, but we just had a caller from Merced, right? And that's 3 hours away. So how does Northern California healthcare system interact and complement other healthcare systems? And I guess the big question is, if you're enrolled in the VA for healthcare and you move, or say you go on a trip and such, and you need to receive care at another location, can you do that?
Sure you can. So the VA has an electronic medical record, and so some portion of that data is available across the country. So if you're going to Disney World on vacation and you're a veteran enrolled here, and you go into the Orlando VA clinic, they can pull up the medications that you're on, see the doctor notes from your last care here. The VA is structured, there's 150 VA hospitals in the country.
Okay.
We're part of the Sierra Pacific Network, so is Palo Alto VA, San Francisco VA, Reno, Honolulu, Fresno.
Right.
And so all of the hospitals work together in partnership. If there's a special type of care, say spinal cord injury or blind rehab, where the veteran needs the care and it's not provided at all of those locations, then we refer inside the VA to each other and make sure that the veteran's needs are taken care of.
Great. That really gives the one VA kind of perspective to it.
We have an interesting chat question here for you guys. What is the difference between the VA hospital and clinics and Tricare?
It's a great question. So the military has a program called Tricare. So if you're active duty military, retired military, or a beneficiary of somebody on active duty or a retiree, you may use Tricare. And that term is used for either outside the DoD healthcare system where they're buying care in the community, or they're going directly to a military treatment facility and getting care.
Tricare is really insurance. And we don't want VA to really be presented in that same way, right? The VA is not insurance, but
the
Tricare
VA
is.
is not Tricare, is not connected to DoD, it's its own executive agency. And so when you come and get care at the VA, we're the direct provider of care the vast majority of the time. There are some specialties where we've got to buy care in the community, but it often gets confused with Tricare, but it's a different system.
And I was doing outreach to a Submariners group over the weekend, and one gentleman asked, well, I can't qualify for VA healthcare because I have Tricare. And sometimes veterans confuse the fact that you may be eligible for both Tricare and for VA healthcare, just like I'm eligible for Kaiser and for VA healthcare. So you can use both, and we really encourage to veterans to seek out whether they're eligible for the healthcare or not. So you mentioned the VA's electronics record system. The VA really has been known for being innovative in terms of being the frontline healthcare system. Give us an idea real quickly of what innovative projects the VA is working on now.
One of the things that's great for veterans that get care in the VA is that we're focused on keeping the veteran healthy. We're not an insurance company like you mentioned. We're not a hospital that's trying to turn a profit by healthcare. We're actually focused on keeping veterans healthy. So some of the cool things that we do, we have a homeless program. And if a veteran is down on their luck, has lost housing, or is chronically homeless, we have programs that actually put the veteran into a home. We've found that one variable in life expectancy that moves 30-year variable is, do you live in a home or do you not live in a home? So the healthcare institution, it just makes sense. Let's get veterans into homes. You don't typically think about that as providing health care, but it's something that the VA does that's unique, that other healthcare systems wouldn't provide.
Our good friend Derek's doing that.
Absolutely. As usual, our time is up. It's too short. We want to thank both of you for being with us tonight and helping us to explain to our viewing audience a little more in detail what's provided to them, and hopefully they'll be able to take advantage of the things they've heard here tonight. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you both.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. We will return after this informative video about community vet centers.
Life after deployment isn't always so easy.
My marriage was falling apart. I had trouble sleeping.
I was always on edge, always tense.
I felt like my kids were afraid of me. I was drinking more every day.
Going from one prescription to the next.
I couldn't find a job.
It was hard to focus in school, let alone everyday life.
I didn't want to admit that I had some issues to deal with.
But you know what? I got sick and tired of it and decided to get on with my life.
I found the support I needed at my local vet center.
It's a free counseling center for anyone like me who's been in a combat zone.
My family members qualify for readjustment counseling services too.
They adjust everything from PTSD and marital counseling
to military sexual trauma and bereavement therapy.
Most of the counselors and staff are veterans too. I like that.
I like that. I like that.
And you know what? It turns out I'm not the only one who's able to get some help at a local vet center.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices. We are now joined by Jeff Jewell and Maurice Delmer from the Concord Vet Center. Welcome, guys.
Hey, glad to be here.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Well, you're both veterans. Jeff, you served in the Air Force. How many years in the Air Force, Jeff?
Yeah, that's 7.5 years in the Air Force. For those folks that live in the area, a couple of tours at Travis Air Force Base and a tour in Yokota, Japan. And I was a crew chief on C-5s. I loved every minute of it. I flew for a couple of years. I've been all over the world. It was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it in for anything, my military service. So.
Great. Well, thank you for serving. And yeah, the Air Force is very important in this community because it's one of the very few active duty bases left in Northern California.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't really realize how much the Air Force is involved in everything, you know. All the support structure and everything for all the branches of service. So.
And I can't really think if I've ever heard anyone say 7.5 years in any branch. So where'd the half year come from, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know.
Was that a paid vacation somewhere? Or?
You know, I think it was one of these things where at 3.5 years they waved a bunch of money in my face, and
I see.
And I went ahead and re-enlisted for another.
Add
4.
another 4.
Yeah, what the heck?
That's
you
the
know?
Air Force, man. That good.
Yeah.
You know what? I would have loved to do 7.5 years in the Air Force as well, but I spent time in the Marine Corps. Maurice, you're a Marine. Tell us a little bit about your service.
Yeah, I did 3 years, 364 days in a wake-up call in the United States Marine Corps. I was an artilleryman, fire direction controlman, from 2001 to 2005. The tour in Iraq during the invasion. It's a great experience.
12 years ago. Isn't that crazy?
Time flies.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the unique role that vet centers play in helping our veterans.
Yeah, I think probably the most important part about the vet centers is that we're community-based. We're not necessarily in the like the campuses, like the VA Martinez or other VA clinics or hospitals. For instance, we're in Concord here on Willow Pass Road. But more importantly, the vet center, we provide a lot of services for our combat veterans and their families. And Congress does mandate that we work with a specific population, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I want all veterans to know that you're welcome, and we have services for veterans that maybe didn't serve in a combat zone. We have a lot of wellness programs. For instance, we're partnering with the Veterans Yoga Project. We're going to partner with them to have yoga at the vet center. We do healing touch. We do meditation. We have exercise group. And by the way, we're open 8 in the morning till 8 at night, Monday through Friday, and we're open 8 to 4:30 on Saturdays. We're trying to make it more convenient. Our veterans that come in, you know, our primary population is our combat veterans. And then we work with the families. We also do military sexual trauma. And it doesn't make any difference when that happened or where. We work with, and it can be male or female. We also do bereavement with family members who have lost loved ones on active duty after 2003. And, you know, they've recently added a couple of other areas. You know, even if you didn't serve in a combat zone and you were a drone operator, we can work with you because you may have developed maybe some post-traumatic stress disorder from things, and working with medical professionals. So we can also work with those folks even if they didn't serve in a combat zone. And then lastly, you know, the folks that served in the morgues. You know, and I know Maurice wants to talk a little bit about his personal experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for covering the vet center, Jeff. Yeah. Didn't leave me much. No, just kidding. But yeah, you know, after I got out of the Marine Corps myself, you know, I went about my life, came home to my community. I knew I wanted to go to school, so I started using my Montgomery GI Bill before the post 9/11 GI Bill came out. But you know, I started noticing that there was, you know, things didn't seem the same. Things didn't seem normal. My normal was different, and you know, I continued to work and go to school. I did get a job, but I struggled a little bit. And a couple years after I got out, I ran it. Somebody mentioned the vet center program, and you know, I came to the Concord Vet Center actually, and coming full circle. Now I work for the Concord Vet Center.
Great.
But the vet center really helped me out. They kind of got me informed about some of the things that were going on. You know, why I might be dealing with some of the stuff. I didn't know what I was dealing with, but there were these issues that were taking place with me. And they also got me, the other important thing about the Vet Center program was they got me connected to my benefits. I had no idea about the VA. To me, the VA was this place where, you know, older veterans go and get treatment, you know, war veterans, you know, war heroes. It wasn't a place for me. It wasn't a healthcare system for me.
Right.
So I didn't take advantage of it. And I'm glad I did go to the vet center and learn about the VA because I found out that, you know, I was eligible for 5 years of health care through a special program for combat veterans.
Good. Can't say any more about that, right? And now you're doing the outreach and you're helping other veterans understand that they can take advantage of that opportunity as well. We'll talk a little bit more. We got a little chat question here that we want to address. If my veteran has passed, can I still get help at the vet center?
Yeah, that's a question we often get. For us to work with bereavement or work with the family, it has to be a death on active duty. So let's say you've been off active duty for many years and you pass away, we can't necessarily do bereavement with you. However, if you're a client of ours, and we have 7 or 8 therapists at our vet center right now, if you're a client of ours and you pass away and we're working with you and your spouse, of course we're going to work with the spouse because the veteran passed away and he was while he was a client. But folks do get a little bit confused about that.
Yeah.
But if they're not sure, they can always just call the vet center.
What you're saying is the veteran basically has to initiate the contact with the vet center. Unless they've died on active duty, then you can help initiate that with the family.
That's correct.
Yeah, and it is very simple, but it's very easily confused by some people. And I think it's very generous that the vet center program actually helps family members. You don't find that all of the counseling and mental health counseling that's available is also provided for the spouse or even the children. But in this instance, as long as the veteran initiates the contact with the vet center, you'll sit down with them, you'll help them out.
Yeah. And then from the other side, of course, I have some personal experience with that as being a Gold Star dad, and the vet center in Concord, because we're located here, has been very helpful to many of the families that we work in the Gold Star community, has supported events, have given up their time to come to events, to be available to counsel those of us that are going through that terrific situation or horrific situation of losing a loved one. And so they also will reach out to the parents. And that's one of the few organizations that will work with parents. Most of the time, the benefits work down from the veteran down to its dependents.
Right.
But the Vet Center has been very supportive of the Gold Star community from a parental standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's really important you mentioned the parents. At the Vet Center, we talk to the parents all the time. So if a parent calls and says, my son, he just got back from Afghanistan.
It's common. Yeah.
I'm having issues with him, but I don't think he'll come in. Well, we will talk to the parents, and we will help them and figure out how to talk to your son. But once your son comes in the door, then we can't really talk to the parents. Then it becomes confidential. But a few weeks ago, I had 2 or 3 sessions with some parents that were very concerned about their son, who is still on active duty back in North Carolina. And so we did a long distance thing, and we hooked them up with benefits back in North Carolina. So,
and I'd like to point out too that we are able to help those still serving on active duty. Guard and Reserve. Congress has specifically authorized us because of our separate privacy and confidentiality system of records that we have. So we can view the veterans' records in the VA system. However, the VA cannot view those records, the vet center records. And I think that's important to note. A lot of veterans, a lot of active duty especially, are very concerned about their records being viewed, about asking for help. There's a stigma. Absolutely, it affects their career. Those who might be looking to go into law enforcement or other jobs that require background checks and stuff, we can help you because we will not share your information without your written approval.
Okay, let's put it from the standpoint of a combat veteran. Okay, let's start talking about the combat veteran who maybe resides right here in Concord or lives anywhere in the nation, because this is a national program. Although this is the Concord Vet Center, there's one in every state, at least one, if not more. How easy can you make it for a combat veteran who's wondering maybe should I go into the Vet Center or should I not? Or how much is it going to cost me, or who are these people? How easy is it for a combat veteran to make that decision to walk into a vet center or call a vet center and get started?
Well, we're very friendly. When you walk in, in fact, we had a gentleman that came in today, and it takes just a few minutes. We do, when you come in, we do a quick assessment with you, get some basic information, and normally you have our appointment that week, and often it's the same day. So we always have counselors that are going to be available. We have enough counselors so within, I would say that within a half an hour of you coming in the vet center, you're actually sitting face to face with counselors, and we're talking about what we can do to help you out. We're trying to figure out a plan already, and we've made you appointments. And because we're after hours and on weekends, we make it very easy for you. Very, very quick getting appointments.
And I'd like to point out, there's no enrollment form. I mean, we have our basic information form. There's no enrollment form. Okay. We can absolutely see a veteran that day. And I'd also like to note that much of the staff at Vet Centers, the Vet Center program specifically hires veterans. Many of us are combat veterans. And I think that's important. If a veteran does feel more comfortable talking to a fellow veteran, somebody who might have actually been in there where they were engaged, that they can get that from the Vet Center program.
Our services are free. And the only thing we'd like to see is your DD-214. And for those of you World War II veterans out there, you have a form called a WD-5352. It's a War Department form.
Wow.
We love to see those kind of forms.
Wow.
And we still get a
Piece
lot
of history.
We still had World War II veterans that we're seeing on a regular basis. So The services are free. We just need to see ID, and we can help you if you don't have it. But if you walk in, Nathan, and you come in and you say, you know, I'd like to see somebody at the vet center. I served in Iraq, but you don't have your DD-214. We're not going to kick Nathan to the side of the road. We're going to take it.
Am I going to sit with you, Jeff? Am I going to sit one-on-one with you?
I'll tell you what, most of the folks, I greet almost everybody that comes into that vet center if I'm there, especially if they haven't been there before.
Good.
I like to lead by example. I'm always out front, always talking to the veterans, making sure that they're taken care of. And I can tell you that at the Concord Vet Center, you know, we're one of the few VA agencies that when you call us, a real person answers the phone. So give us a call, you know.
Well, Jeff,
tell them the website. Give them the website real quick.
Oh, Vet Center, www.vetcenter.va.gov.
And I do want to point out that Maurice's job is very similar to mine in that we do a lot of outreach together. In fact, we share tables together sometimes. So the Vet Center also goes out and does a ton of outreach at resource centers, so keep your eyes open if you're out at a resource center. You'll probably see Maurice there and can get help that way.
Good.
Also.
Look forward to seeing you all.
Yeah.
Maurice, thanks for joining us. Jeff, thanks for being here. Great presentation on the Vet Center program. We got a chat question, and we hope the folks follow up with the Vet Center. We'll return right after this short message.
You are a military veteran. If you served in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard, or Reserves, you may be eligible for special housing, education, health care, and other benefits, even if you didn't see combat. If you served, you earned. This station joins America in saying thank you for your service. A message from this station, CalVet, and the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers.
Welcome back. On our website, you will find a list of helpful veterans resources that were discussed on tonight's show. If you don't have access to the internet, call the Veterans Service Office number listed on the last screen. The Veterans Affairs Office can be found at va.gov, and to apply for all benefits the VA has to offer, go to ebenefits.va.gov. That's a great site. The VA also has a very comprehensive YouTube channel that can give you tutorials on how to navigate the online claims process. Their YouTube channel is called VA Vet Benefits. To find a local vet center in your area or get in touch with the Concord Vet Center where Maurice and Jeff work, go to www.vetcenter.va.gov. And lastly, we would like to direct you to the Contra Costa Veteran Service Office, which can help you navigate the VA. Go to their website or call 925-313-1481.
Thanks, Kevin. We have a variety of veterans events coming up soon. Tomorrow, April 21st, there's a stand down on the Delta public meeting at 6 p.m. For more information, visit their website listed below. The Korean Ambassador for Peace ceremony will be held on May 29th in Fremont. If you'd like to nominate someone for this medal, nominations need to be in by May 14th. For more information, contact Jason McCartney. His info appears on your screen. The Concord Vet Center is having a series of reconnection workshops on April 27th. The topic will be identifying depression. On May 4th, relating to children. And on May 11th, working through anger. Call the Concord Vet Center to sign up. Take advantage of it. That's a very unique opportunity. VetCon is back in 2015. It'll be held at the Hilton Hotel in Concord. Go to vetcon.org or call 415-413-8251 for more information. You can also call 925-680-4526. Our next Veterans Voices show will be on May 18th. It'll be our third and final installment of the Your VA series, and the topic will be CalVet. Tune in, please, on CCTV to watch the live stream on our website. Be prepared with questions and comments. We want to hear your voice. We want to remind you that this episode will be rebroadcast on CCTV Monday nights at 7 p.m., Wednesdays at 11, and Saturdays at 9 a.m. You can watch all past episodes anytime on our website, contracostatv.org/Veterans Voices. I want to thank our fantastic crew who have worked hard tonight on the set of CCTV. I want to thank all of our guests, Lee, Leland, Tara, David, Jeff, Mo. And this is Veterans Voices of Contra Costa, wishing you all a great evening. Thank you for serving.